18 months ago, we produced a CD called Magnificat, and I'm excited that on April the 16th, we will be releasing a second volume, which aims to build on the first and to complement the first in terms of choice of repertoire. The disc comprises various settings of the Magnificat and Nunc Dimittis, texts which we sing daily in the college chapel during evensong, and so this repertoire is really part of the choir's lifeblood. The disc opens with an iconic setting by Herbert Howells, Collegium Regale, written for the choir of King's College, Cambridge, written during the Second World War when Howells was actually living and working here in Cambridge, running the choir at St John's while the college organist was away on war service. We're very fortunate that we've been given permission to reproduce some photographs of autograph manuscripts in our CD booklet, and these provide really fascinating insights into the compositional processes of the various composers. And that CD booklet can be viewed online. As well as having extensive notes about the music and the composers, we are also fortunate that the booklet contains an illuminating article written for us by Dr. Rowan Williams on the texts themselves, Rowan Williams being, of course, the former Archbishop of Canterbury. I continue to be amazed at the variety of ways in which composers approach these timeless words. One of the most imaginative Magnificats is the first one which Giles Swain wrote in 1982. It's full of rhythmic vitality, quirky, witty, spiky, minimalist. It's heavily influenced by the music which he heard on visits to Senegal and Gambia. And perhaps an interesting parallel can be made with the percussion writing of Steve Reich, who himself had been so influenced by a visit to Ghana about a decade earlier. And by way of extreme contrast with the Swain, we turn to the Magnificat which Arvo Pärt wrote just a few years after the Swain. And as I say, it's a polar opposite, full of slow-moving, mesmeric legato music. There are works by some of the distinguished organist composers of last century's British cathedral music. Herbert Sumption is one, Sidney Watson another, and also Francis Jackson, who recently celebrated his 103rd birthday. Another little feature of the disc is notable clergymen who have encouraged and inspired composers to write for the church. For instance, it was Eric Milner White, at the end of his time as Dean of King's, who inspired Howells to write his settings for King's. And then later, it was also Milner White who encouraged Francis Jackson to write his settings for York Minster. Walter Hussey was the most important of all ecclesiastical patrons of the arts in last century, and his musical commissions include such pieces as Bernstein's Chichester Psalms and Britten's Rejoice in the Lamb. It actually took him 30 years to persuade Walton to write a piece for him, but he eventually succeeded in the mid-70s with the Walton Chichester service, which is on the disc. And also on our recording is the Chichester service which Lennox Berkeley wrote just a few years later, shortly after Hussey's retirement. Our first Magnificat disc culminated with the setting which Michael Tippett wrote for St John's in 1961. This second volume brings us up to the present day with a fabulous setting which Julian Anderson wrote for the choir in 2019. It was a real joy and privilege to work with Julian on this project, and very inspiring for the choristers to be able to engage with such a fine musician. This is repertoire which I really love and strongly believe in. The disc was recorded at a time when I think we had a particularly fine group of singers, and I do hope you will enjoy listening to the recording as much as we enjoyed recording it for you.